just try harder. If those 3 words make your stomach sink, you're not alone. For those of us who didn't learn we were autistic or ADHD until later in life, just try harder wasn't advice. It was the soundtrack to our life, the unrelenting drumbeat that pushed us towards burnout, reminding us that our effort would never be enough. When you don't know your AuDHD, which is a combination of autism and ADHD, you're trapped in a cycle that just never stops. Your struggles are significant enough to impact every aspect of your life, such as work, school, and relationships. But because you can sometimes push through and bend yourself to meet expectations, people assume you always will. Those expectations shifted the baseline until overexertion became your normal. And eventually, the belief that even your best wasn't enough quietly created an inner monologue of self-blame. Over time, this negative self-talk turned into something darker, the belief that you were fundamentally broken. You didn't want to feel broken. You wanted to feel accepted and to stop feeling so different. So you vowed to try harder. And for a while, this mindset helped you survive in a world that never felt intuitive. You learned to compensate. While most people move through their day on autopilot, you had to think through every task, every conversation, and every decision just to keep up. Nobody knew that you were manually filtering sound, light, and texture instead of tuning them out, or that your emotions often hit hours or days later. They didn't see you wrestle with invisible resistance every time you needed to switch tasks, or you breaking tasks into tiny steps just to start what they could do automatically. You camouflaged this effort well, a response that was part endurance, part strategy. Sometimes it meant fighting through hours of anxiety just to make a 1-minute phone call, or rehearsing every conversation in advance so you wouldn't say the wrong thing. Other times it looked like rewriting emails or messages 10 times to perfect your tone. Maybe you set alarms to eat, drink water, and rest because your body's signals were unreliable. Perhaps you smiled your way through the noise and expectations, holding yourself together while every part of you screamed for relief, pretending you were fine until you finally shut down in private. Living this way is like trudging through knee-deep mud while everyone else walks on a sidewalk. When they say, just walk faster, it's because they can't see the mud. And because you can't see their sidewalk, you assume the problem must be you. So you keep pushing. All that pushing past your limits convinced your body that slowing down meant failure. But eventually, your body made the choice for you, because just try harder was never sustainable, and our bodies were never designed to live in fight or flight indefinitely. Those decades of constantly pushing beyond your natural capacity built the foundation for severe chronic burnout, the kind that no amount of rest can truly repair. Burnout showed up as mysterious health problems that slowly accumulated until you couldn't ignore them anymore. Exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. Insomnia that trapped you in loops of rumination instead of recovery. Muscles so tense that aching became normal. Digestive issues from constant stress. And the reality is, you can't outwill a nervous system that believes it's in danger. Eventually, it stops asking for rest and starts forcing it. For many of us, that physical collapse became the wake-up call that something needed to change. And in seeking that change, many of us finally stumbled upon our ADHD or autism diagnosis. When you finally got the diagnosis, it didn't just give you a label, it gave you context. Suddenly, your story made sense. You weren't broken. You were doing the best you could to function in an environment that was never designed for the way your brain works. The contradiction that defined your life, excelling in some moments and freezing in others, finally had an explanation. It wasn't inconsistency or lack of effort. It was AuDHD. Now, Understanding this doesn't erase your struggles, but hopefully it can help you separate your worth from your performance. Because here's the truth. You weren't trying too little. You were trying too much. You weren't lazy. You were fighting invisible resistance every single day. That sensitivity, well, you were processing more input than anybody realized. They called you difficult while you were over accommodating everyone else. Unreliable, well, you were battling executive dysfunction that made simple tasks feel impossible. No, you didn't fail at being neurotypical. You succeeded at surviving in a world that wasn't built for you. And the amazing part is that you didn't even know you were doing it. You might have pushed through by telling yourself that, well, everybody has their struggles. So you kept showing up and kept trying again and again and again. Every day you didn't give up was an act of extraordinary resilience that no one recognized, including you. But now you can finally stop trying to be someone you were never meant to be. You don't have to keep measuring your worth by how well you meet other people's expectations. You can begin to see your value for who you already are, not who you've been told to become, because willpower was never the answer. Understanding yourself always was. Your brain is extraordinary. Think about what it has survived and everything it is still capable of. You've been strong for so long, carrying a weight no one could see. And now you can finally put it down. Not because you're giving up, but because you finally understand that that weight was never yours to carry in the first place. And letting that go changes everything. If this video validated your experiences, helped you find the words to explain what you've been feeling, or comforted you in knowing you're not alone and that others share your journey, please consider joining me on Patreon at audhdhub. There you'll find an expanding library of free resources, access to community, and optional paid tiers for deeper support. Together, we're building a space where AuDHD adults can connect, learn, and finally feel understood. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll see you next time.